Greetings everybody, my name is Kirillo and this is Real Map Talk. Today I'm gonna be talking about a map called Sidestep. It was created by So Scared.
Battle control initialized.
Let me just place another
complete.
construction yard to show you the other spawn position. It's roughly somewhere here. So let's start discussing the map. This map is a big map, one of the biggest 1 vs 1 maps, at least competitive 1 vs 1 maps, and it's really popular. Probably only one map is more popular than this one, at least in December 2016. That map is Overlord. So this map, in my opinion, is second popular map, and if you follow the Red Alert Global League, you will see that players tend to choose this map quite frequently. There's a good reason for that. This is a very balanced map, it's mirrored and it doesn't look that bad. It also promotes blob moving instead of base pushing, so it was probably one of those first maps which allowed people to realize that base pushing is not everything about this game. I mean, you can create blobs and fight with blobs instead of base pushing in open array. And this is also a fairly new map. It's newish, but I think it was created around 1 year ago or so, and it immediately gained a lot of traction, a lot of patches, a lot of attention, etc. And I would say this map looks really well, but I can tell you how to improve it. I couldn't... it wasn't obvious immediately, but I'll get to that point a bit later. As of now, let's discuss player spawns. So each player starts not far from each other. This is, by the way, my most favorite opening line, but that's how it is. The player spawns are really close to each other, which is good. And each player has a huge ore patch to his expanse. And this ore patch has 2 ore mines. At the same time, there's a little ore patch with 1 ore mine not far from the player's base. You don't have to move your MCV to gain access to that ore patch, you just need to build some buildings and you'll be able to place your perfect ore refinery. Same for this spawn, so it's really mirrored, very balanced, A+. There are also 2 oil derricks on this map, 1 oil derrick per player. One is at the top right, the other one is here, top left, the other one is at the bottom right. And I'll also talk about them a bit later. Let me just finish the expansions first. So there are 2 expansions for each player. It's one at the bottom and the other at the top. They are a bit different for each player, so this player has the double ore mine expansion at the top, this one has the same at the bottom, and vice versa here. And this is pretty much all the ore on the map, and it's more than enough. I don't remember how much exactly, but it's more than 100k, I think. So you will usually see big blobs on this map, and maybe even super weapons. Anyway, let's talk about the game development. So I noticed people mostly like to build their second ore refinery, so they build their ore refinery here. The second ore refinery will be somewhere here. I would say that it's perfectly fine to build your second ore refinery here as well. The ore patch is huge, and my general rule, although you don't have to follow it, is to build 1 ore refinery per 1 ore mine. But It's a perfectly valid strategy. I'm not saying nobody plays it, but I would like to stress that it's fine to do that. From my experience and from what I've seen from other players. This ore patch is a bit vulnerable in early game. This is,
Build instruction complete.
this ore refinery with this ore patch is a bit vulnerable. It's often being targeted by engineers which have nothing to do after they captured the oil derricks, and you should pay close attention to this ore patch in early game, at least. It doesn't really matter later in the game, like middle game, because this ore will be gone and this ore mine won't be that significant. Initially, I think you want to move 2 harvesters here, and then you should leave only 1 harvester working on this ore mine. The other one could conveniently go to the bottom. Speaking of other expansions, I would say you should always expand to either to this location or to this one. It's not only about ore mines that you have here, 2 ore mines, that is, versus 1 ore mine at the other location. It's also about game planning and how you plan to progress in the game. And I would say, like in chess, so some openings are better, the other ones are worse in certain situations, but on this map, no matter which faction you are, I would say you should always go to these locations.
Build instruction complete.
You can either, I notice people play like this, place their second MCV here or here, doesn't really matter, no big deal, but you really want to secure this first. And the reason is, one reason is obvious, not enough ore here. The other reason is it's hard to defend this area. See, you have your base here. Let me just talk about this base since this is my original spawn. So you have your base here, and if you calculate the cells you need to reach to this location and to this location, you will discover, and it's quite obvious, you can already see that it is closer to reach this location. And what it means is that, let's say you have a base here, you have a ore refinery here, not the best one, but anyway. It means that you can move your blob. Let me
Build instruction complete.
choose camera.
Cancel.
Let me actually choose a
Build
turret so you can
complete.
see my cursor, my mouse pointer, so it's visible enough. Let me show you that you can move your army from here to here, like this, and it's really convenient to defend this area because you are protecting 2 expansions at the same time, 3 or patches in total. And with this position, what you only do is protect 2 ore patches like this. So it's not also really convenient to move your army here because of this construction here, and there's a reach here, but it's not a big deal. And when you established yourself in this position, what you can do, actually what you will want to do, is to attack your opponent, probably this position if he has a base here. But if it's an early attack, most likely you will not see your opponent's base here, because he would expand to this location, similarly to you. In any case, if your opponent made this move, I'm not calling this a mistake, but it's something I wouldn't recommend. So let's imagine if you perform not an early but a late attack, or for example your opponent expanded to this area, and
Building
He
construction
has a
complete.
base here, he has a refinery, a harvester, which is mining here. So your choice is to go either this way or this way to perform an attack. And normally this area is heavily protected with defense structures.
Cancel.
Let me just put some
Building construction complete. Construction
like this.
complete. Cancel.
It's really hard to attack this area. It's very well defended, normally at least. You can go this way, but it means that you won't be able to retreat, so everything you move through here will either win you a game or die, and you won't have any army. So yeah, you can attack, harass from here, then go here, do some damage here, but eventually your army will die. What I noticed I like to do, and it's not my own invention, but I think I've seen that from class and I realized how awesome that move is.
Building
You can
construction
move
complete.
your MCV to this location, for example.
Building
Put any
construction
defense
complete.
structure such as turret or a Tesla coil here, and you can see you cover a lot of ore here with this one turret. It is aimed to harass your enemy's harvesters, and it would mean he couldn't mine from here unless he starts engaging you to clear this turret up. And what it means, you should have your army somewhere here. You don't want to attack into this, and it actually promotes positional play. Although this map is more focused on blob moving, there are some details like this one which help you to win games. Speaking well enough about strategy, I really just wanted to say that for some reason. It's not really a talk about the map design itself, so let me just talk about the map itself. So it's very open, and there are a few ridges. And speaking of improvements that I would do to this map, it wasn't obvious immediately, but I've seen plenty of games where people who lose, they move your last MCV to
complete.
here, build a sub pen or
complete.
a naval yard here, build a
Building
transport,
unit ready.
and pack the MCV to this transport, which prolongs games, which is really annoying because you have to wait while the other player discovers this transport and destroys it to win the game. It's a really minor feedback, but what I would do, I would replace this beach with water cliffs instead, and this will prevent this play, and it won't actually affect anything but fix this minor, although minor but annoying issue. Speaking of oil derricks and ore on the map, I would say this map has enough ore, definitely enough ore, and this oil derrick is not important at all. Although you don't want to allow your opponent to control 2 oil derricks, that's too much. 1 oil derrick doesn't do anything really. And this pillbox, like pillbox plus derrick, a derrick combination, is something I've never seen anywhere on any other map, and it's really interesting, but it doesn't really do anything. Like, it was interesting to try it, but it's obvious it does not guarantee anything, any interesting actions. You can destroy this. When you capture this pillbox first, you basically guarantee yourself this oil derrick, and as a map editor myself, I dislike this choice. I think there should be some... it shouldn't be that easy to capture this oil derrick. your opponent should have a chance to engage here early and win this oil derrick for them. But as I said, it's only one oil derrick, it doesn't really matter. You can cover, you can hide your units here, but if I recall correctly, even rocket soldiers are not able to reach this oil derrick. So let's imagine the left player captures the oil derrick first, the pillbox first. Oh no, never mind. So you can actually attack this oil derrick from here, but you can cover only a few rocket soldiers, for example, and they will be dead pretty early anyway. So this pillbox prevents basically any interesting play here, and what people usually do is send one tank, a few rocket soldiers, then destroy this completely. And does this map have to have more oil derricks? I would say it depends. There are, in my opinion, this map has enough ore, but this map doesn't have enough interesting choke points, I should say, although everybody hates them. There's a choke point in the middle, and normally people don't go through here, although it's really strong. A strong move, and I'll explain that later. But I don't see any obvious positions where you want to put oil derricks, so I would really remove this completely. It only forces you to waste money on an engineer, and yeah, not very useful overall. Speaking of this choke point in the middle, you can actually put your construction yard here, plant your MCV, and base push your opponent. These ore patches, this one and this one, are most vulnerable ore patches on this whole map, surprisingly enough, because they are huge. What your opponent can do is establish his base here, and I've seen many players do that. I myself sometimes do that because it's so effective. You can do that at any stage of the game. You just plant your MCV here and start base pushing from here. And it's a really strong move, which is really hard to counter. You don't have to use your MCV, you don't have to base push, you can just move your army here. If nobody controls this choke point, you just send some rocket soldiers and destroy a lot of harvesters for free. I cannot even count how many games I've seen where people lose their harvesters on this ore patch because they don't protect this. I don't blame them for that, it's hard to protect this area, but it's really effective. And speaking, what I was going to talk about. Okay, speaking of this area on the map, you won't see a lot of movement here in general. Maybe some planes would be flying around, but speaking of ground units, I think the original idea was to allow sneaky attacks from, so for example, this player wants to attack this player, he moves his army like here, here, to this area and attacks from behind. In my practice, although this can do some damage, it can easily be defended because you basically attack the heart of the base, which your opponent will probably have his army somewhere not far from this area. He would also be able to place some defense structures quite quickly, like pillboxes, which is the current meta, and it's not that successful. So I'm not sure, I don't like this area on this map, this particular area here and this particular area here. I didn't find any good uses on it, except a place for your helicopters or plane where they can rest. And yeah, speaking of what? Speaking of visual design, the map has quite a lot of trees, and visually I dislike these two ridges. I think it looks a bit ugly, but it's not really a serious feedback. I realized that it's just doesn't look really pretty. And what I had on my mind instead, so let me just quit
Battle
this
control terminated.
and launch my map editor. One second, guys. What the hell? Interesting glitch, anyway. I would remove all these trees from here and do something similar to a map called Behind the Veil. So I would open up this passage. Where are these tiles? Like here. Open up this passage from here so you can move your units inside. Like this. It would allow, for example, infantry to control this choke point better. It's nothing major really. It's just an interesting way to hide your units. I think you wouldn't be able to place any defense structures here, I think, unless there's a bug or something. But overall, it would be an interesting addition to the map, just based purely on visuals. I never liked those trees. So yeah, just one minor addition, and this addition about the ridges that I talked about a bit earlier. This one is really important in my opinion, but overall I don't see how we could improve this map, and I would say this map is a good map in general, so approved by Krillo. Yeah. I don't think I have anything else to add about this map. Sorry that my analysis was not only about the map, but I also touched a bit of some strategy on this map. It's just the map is that good that I don't really have anything else to add about it, and I didn't want to record a 3-minute video. So thank you for watching and see you next time.